Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in the bunker. Purple State Party. You know what we do here. We represent America, the center, and common sense. And things that go bang. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Knew I could get to work. Cheap Chinese knockoffs. Of what? I don't know. I don't know. Did we ever make American party poppers like that? I don't know. Anyhow, we're going to start this off with some quick bullet points here, as we can see right here. 2014, here in California, we decided that we were going to take pity on people who shoplifted. Of course, the criminals, as they always do, they take advantage of anything and everything. 2021, Walgreens has now closed 17. I don't even have enough fingers for that. 17 of their stores because of out of control shoplifting. People just go in and they clear it right into a backpack and they walk out. Nobody does anything. That's the problem with these lax laws that we have here in California that soon be coming to a neighborhood near you. Is that they're designed so that people who slip up get a second chance. Kids, for example, young adults who, maybe they do it on a whim. Okay, maybe they're just like, they're bored and they're at the mall and somebody's like, hey, that would be funny. Why don't you steal something? Or, who could steal the biggest thing? I used to try to steal weird shit too. A lot of times that was all that my motivation was. But okay, so I got in trouble for it. I paid my fines and all that. But anyhow, so we try to show some compassion. And this is what happens. Stores are put out of business because of just dumb liberal laws. If you think Trump incited violence and deserves to be banned, what about Maxine Waters? Because soon enough we're going to find out that there's going to be a retrial for Derek Chauvin. And she's supporting acts of violence. She's co-signing them. Leaders of Iran are co-signing them on Facebook and on Twitter and places like that. And nobody does anything. I mean, fine. Look, if you want to say that Trump went too far, okay. I get it. If you want to say that O'Keefe from Veritas went too far, okay. I get it. But I mean, at this point, come on. I mean, do we really want to go down this road of one-party control? Because all you have to do is look at California and New York. Remove the weather, remove Broadway, remove historical sites, remove those kind of things, because the current government has nothing to do with the beauty of New York or the beauty of California. They only hold the title to the bad shit. I didn't make that rule. The government doesn't control the weather. Just think if the 99% of us who aren't offended by everything stop catering to the 1% who are. That's how it used to be. I used to listen to Kevin and Bean, and they brought that up once, that, somebody would write a letter, they were offended by something, and management would just crumple it up and throw it away. Now, they take that one letter to mean 10,000 letters, or 100,000 letters, and they act upon that one person, or maybe that small group of people. The bottom line with this is that, in all things, you need to please the majority first, then the minority. You can't flip-flop it. You can't make 5% of the population dictate the other 95%. That's not democracy in any form. I don't know what form of government that would be. I mean, if you're talking about people at the top, that's socialism or communism, because the top 5% get everything and 95 live in squalor. But, I mean, that's the problem we're running into now, is that the loudest voices are the ones that are always offended. Because if you're not offended, why are you going to raise your voice? After years of harassing the president of the U.S., Donald Trump, the fake news New York Times finally admits that the Steele dossier was a lie. We already knew this. We said it. Everybody pinned their hopes on it, and there's people out there who still say that there was Russian collusion and that there was this document that proves it, and this is the bullshit document. Along the lines of more bullshit being spewed out, COVID cases were hugely overcounted. And I knew that. There's a difference between died with and died of. And if you died of something and you had COVID, you were COVID numbers. That's what we're finding out. You know, you could be in a car accident, but if you had COVID, they were likely to put you down as COVID. I don't know why. I you know, I've long lost the ability to figure some of this shit out because it's just bonkers to me. But there had to be a motivation. A lot of people say it was money. I've heard opposite of that. I don't know what their motivation was then. This one I really loved. Oh my God. I purposely, when I go on places like Twitter and Instagram, I go under a completely different account. One that is not confrontational. And I do it for a reason because I don't want to waste time. We'll see why later on in the show. But I don't really like wasting time arguing with people who believe this. It cracks me up when the left is referred to as radical. As if the left is running around carrying an assault rifle, denying science, and discussing not accepting the election results. Okay, let's break that down a little bit, kids, here. You know, first of all, we've seen Antifa members that are armed. We saw them in the Rittenhour case. Clearly saw guns. We saw them in, I believe it was like Pittsburgh or somewhere like that, where they were blocking the road. So, yeah, they're in public threatening people. They're threatening people with mob violence. They're using mortars and explosives, fireworks style, to shoot at cops. So as far as I'm concerned, you're running around with assault weapons, okay? You've got hammers, you got clubs, you got bats, you got shields, all that shit. Okay, bear mace, body armor. So yeah, you got assault gear. Denying science? I mean, if somebody points out the fact that a man can't give birth and you want to cancel him. That's the kind of crap that we're seeing right now. That's denying science. It doesn't work that way. If science can change it, okay, but for right now, facts are facts. You know, they're saying, you know, you want to keep wearing masks, blah, 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 all this vaccine crap that's going around. The left is just as guilty of denying science when they want to. And discussing not accepting the election results. You mean like 2016? Look, this is the bullshit. This is why I'm trying to find the truth in these stories. And be down the middle. Because I can't be agreeing with this kind of shit. And I can't agree with some of the stuff that the right does. I have to put my foot down. Put your foot down. Ow. I see that everybody's comparing Joe Biden to Jimmy Carter. It would seem to me that this is very unfair to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy mishandled crisis after crisis, but Biden has created crisis after crisis. That's from the man himself, Trump. That's a mean tweet right there, isn't it? Sort of true, though. I don't, you know, I mean, Biden has done certain things. His administration has done certain things. They basically said, cross the border and you'll win the lottery. And then they said, whoa, when everybody started coming. Because no matter how much you want to believe in compassion, there is a group of people of all denominations and nationalities and all that. They're called bad people. Okay, maybe you've heard of them. They're what you would call a villain in a play. You know, they're Scar in Lion King. He's a villain, and you give them an inch, and they'll take a mile, and then they'll beat your head in. I mean, what's wrong with that statement? House Dems just passed a capital security bill that costs $3.5 million per member of Congress. Defund for thee, but not for me. And that's brought to you by Congressman Jim Banks. Jimmy Banks. That's a good PI name, Jimmy Banks. But anyhow, you know, they have no problem defunding the police in the inner city, but they want to up their security. I mean, they're out there trying to say that white people are inherently bad and that they are the saviors of the communities of color and all the other communities out there. But then they're spending billions to protect themselves. Nobody's coming after them in that way. If you really think that the 6th was about trying to murder somebody, you're absolutely wrong, because we didn't see that level of violence. We didn't see any of that stuff. People were pissed. But this was not a murderous mob, okay? You know, let's keep in mind that one of the people who went in there got shot and killed by their police. Meanwhile, they're saying, hey, police brutality, police brutality. Every chance they get, stirring the racial divide. But when a push comes to shove, they get the fences, they get the gates, they get the armed security. You get nothing, okay? You probably get mugged or robbed or have your catalytic converters stolen. Don't get me started on that. That's a California thing. I mean, maybe they do it elsewhere, but we hear so much about it around here. Man on video dismantles BLM autonomous barricades blocking street at George Floyd Square. Okay. Well, that's bound to happen. I mean, if the government keeps failing and the police are powerless, at some point, citizens are going to have to take control. Remember our history. In the 1800s, people were coming out west. Oregon Trail, look it up. It's a fun game. You know, hey, one of the first computer games. But back then, you were your own law. You had to be. There wasn't a lot of law. Wasn't a lot of law and order at all. Law and order. Fort something. I don't know, Alamo. I don't know my forts all of a sudden, man. I know Fort McHenry and Fort Sumter. I don't know why Fort Sumter is suddenly on my mind. But what are we upset about? What are we trying to point out here? I mean, these are numbers. Yes, unemployment grew to 6.1%. Okay, COVID, okay. Black unemployment rose to 9.7. Okay, that's not good. 18,000 jobs in manufacturing were killed just in April. Okay, that's not a lot of jobs, but that's still 18,000 people. There's no arrows going up. You know, mean tweets, okay, there's no more mean tweets. Just benign, idiotic, sometimes flat out lies from him. I miss the old wrestling days with Trump where oh yeah, what you gonna do? You know, he kept it interesting, but he was communicating to people like they communicate. And, you know, whatever. People just, whatever. They're not going to understand that, but that is the truth. The truth of the matter is that a lot of people who hate Trump, they realize that he's a reflection of themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that because, quite frankly, I think it worked well. An American-made original and a cheap Chinese knockoff. Yeah. I don't even have to tell you who the pitchers are. You know, of course it's Trump and Biden. Because Biden is, man. I mean, he blocks our pipeline, but he allows Russia. I don't know, man. I don't know. He gives COVID money to what? These people are not living sucker free. People are taking advantage of our generosity and our compassion. We're co-signing it. You see? That's what we're doing. We're enablers. We're the codependents. I mean, we are. I mean, and people could retort, oh, but we give money to Israel. Yeah, because... not to mention the fact Israel sometimes acts where we wish we could, but can't. So Israel goes and does it, like taking out, well, I believe, when Saddam was trying to build a nuclear reactor, they put a couple of missiles in the side of it. Now, but speaking of Israel, I stand with them. They have been battling a long time there, and yeah, I mean they've got things to iron out. But you know, a wise man once said, you know, let he who's, you know, not sin cast the first stone. Or people who live in glass houses, you know, we shouldn't really be dictating what they're doing. If there's something going on there that we could fix, you know, we've been trying. You know, but Biden gives money to Iran. Iran gives it to Hamas. Hamas starts lobbing missiles at Israel. That's direct cause and effect. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. I mean, that's what's going on. And then the media wants to drag those poor little Palestinians into it. Most of the Palestinians are just trying to live their lives. They've integrated to some degree into Israel. They've integrated. They don't really want their schools being used for target practice. Because that's what Hamas does. They put the missile launcher on top of the school. Israel retaliates. The school gets blown up. It's propaganda, man. Propaganda ain't American. We've tried since 1947. What do we got there? 3, 6, 9 different attempts. But the leaders on one side, maybe on both sides, but I think it's on one side. They profit off of the strife. They profit. They know that to agree to one of these things would piss off a terrorist organization like Hamas. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. They're powerless. The average citizen is powerless. And one of the reasons they're powerless is because they allow bad government. And they can't do anything about it. Which is one thing that we have an advantage. We could, push comes to shove, do something about it. And that keeps people from going too far off the deep end. This one cracks me up. Again, it's, I understand that it's really easy to see the Palestinians as the underdog and Israel as the mean bullies. I get it. But that's not really the truth. And that's not how they feel about you. So when you say Queers for Palestine, you should really investigate how they feel about you first. I heard that was going on over in England, where England made all these countries green, saying you could go there. They're green. They're green. And the other countries are like, huh? Only one country, Portugal, supposedly, said, yeah, sure, we'll take you. We'll allow your people to fly in. Before you say something that's just you wish you'll be able to take back, you could do a little research. They're not your friends, okay? BLM sends rioters to Gaza to protest Israel by burning down Palestinian buildings. That's what we saw here, right? Right? People would leave the BLM rally, join the Antifa riot, and burn down black businesses and destroy black communities. And along the way, they even managed to kill Mr. Dorn, a retired black cop. Good work, guys. And here's Bronco. He's always, as far as I'm concerned, he's always going to be in here because he's a genius of explaining stuff. But, there's Netanyahu. He's got his shield up, and he's got all these darts stuck in it. And behind him, yes, he gets ready to throw a dart back, or a missile, I guess. The squad and the mainstream media are saying, don't you dare. Yeah. It boggles my mind. It absolutely boggles my mind that people can't just understand. Look, it's the same thing that we saw here. An individual of color dies at the hands of a white cop. And people burn down communities. So an overreaction is part of their game plan at all times, okay? At all times. Bunch of Karens. They go from zero to overreact. So, sure, just let Israel get blown up. We don't live there. So here's one that really pains me to get into this one, because I just feel like I know where the battle is won and lost, and I can't get anybody to listen to me. Texas celebrates 0 COVID deaths 2 months after Biden called it Neanderthal thinking. Okay? And they were proven right. They did the right thing. They got their economy restarted, the masks off. I know people in Texas, they've been on multiple vacations. They've been staying in the Airbnbs. They're having a time of their life. Everything's pretty much back to normal. Okay? But then, a few days later, they sign a law banning abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. First of all, the center is your key to the victory. And the key to the center is young women. That's who you can't appeal to. A bunch of older ladies and men signed a law. I understand your feelings on it. I've said this before in other videos. I understand your position. I, for the most part, agree with your position. Okay? I understand the whole heartbeat thing here. I get that. Okay? I myself was adopted. So according to Steve Jobs, I'm glad I didn't end up in abortion. I could have. It's a wild world. Without all this on, you know, there's times where I'm out in public and people will be like they know me. They when I say I don't know who they are, they get offended. You know, I don't know who else has a big giant smile like mine, but I get mistaken for people all the time, and that they could actually be talking about somebody who is actually related to me. I have no idea. But anyhow, that's just my perspective on abortion. As far as I'm concerned, I was probably pretty close. Okay, whatever. Okay, if my mom had done that, then I wouldn't know what I was missing anyhow. So, you know, that's sad, boo-hoo, and all that. I get that. But this is a hot-button topic that you push people away on. And you need to step back and realize that banning it serves no real purpose. It just forces people to go to other states. It just forces people in the back alleys. And to some degree, in some cases, okay, it's just awful to force that choice on somebody. You know, and what does it create? You know, you force somebody to have a baby. Then that kid either grows up with abandonment issues or other issues because he's adopted, or he goes through foster care and something bad happens, or he gets stuck with a parent who doesn't want him. You know, if they were going to get rid of the kid, I'm sure the father's gone. Now you have a single mother who doesn't want to be a mother. How's that kid going to grow up? I know it sucks. I know it's gross and it's horrible. But I think a lot of people who actually go through with it feel the same way. But they don't have a choice. You know? Sometimes you don't have a choice. And I just stop pushing people away. I get it. And another one. Candace Owens could be a beacon, but instead she has to peck at Demi Lovato. Like, I mean, I agree. I had a whole huge argument the other night with my daughter over the stupid trigger words. The trap words, as I call them. They and them. They're trap words. You can't ever gain acceptance if you're laying those traps out there. I understand she might want to be referred to it that way, and she should certainly tell people, but when we put those labels out there, if somebody doesn't know about those labels, it becomes a trap word. And that's not really responsible for the community and for the next generation, because you're just making it harder on people. I get how you feel, and I have no problem with Demi Lovato wanting to be called they. It sounds weird, but whatever. If that's what you want, that's what you get. And that's how they should put it in articles and stuff. But to have the label out there makes it a trap word. And that's what they're doing. And I'm just saying, like, for the common good and for the common good and everybody who's going to come after you, like, you know, follow you. Don't have trap words, man. Think about it. I understand that's what you want, but people aren't going to know that, and people can get in trouble nowadays for not understanding these trap words. You have to look this stuff up. I don't, you know, like, you take somebody like Caitlyn Jenner, and it's or Blair White. There's a great example. Blair White. You know what so-called pronouns you're going to use. It's right there in your face. And if you can't tell by looking, you're going to know by the voice. And then if you want to explain to somebody, hey, when you write an article about and you don't use, you know, like she, use they or them. That makes sense. You've now just told a person. You said, this is what I prefer. Society learns that that's what you prefer, or to accept that that's what you prefer, and not have to get all bleh every time they have to say they or them. But when you make it a trap word, it just pushes people away, man. You know, a good example is people of Asian descent. They don't expect, just like if you saw me, you wouldn't know what I am, like what portion I am. Half of me is a question mark. But you can't necessarily tell where in Asia somebody comes from. So they have a collective term. And then, if they want, they'll tell you what they are. But it doesn't create those trap words that get people in trouble. They don't secretly say, hey, you should refer to us as this. Take it from somebody who's just labeled white. I identify with who I really am more than just white. Speaking of people in color, Lori Lightfoot, I heard this, and she really said this, that she's only going to take interviews with black or brown journalists. So she's being racist against Asians, as we just mentioned, whites, and anybody else out there. Only black or brown. And she double downs on it. She has no problem with it. I applauded her at one point because it looked like she was going to take a stand against the school union, but I don't know how that materialized. Probably didn't very well. But this little troll, man, that's her wife. She's coming down with all this hatred about white people, and she's married to a white woman? What the fuck? What? How is that even... I'm literally speechless every time I see this, because I wasn't sure this was true, and I looked it up, and it is. So she's either really racist against white people, or it's just a political stunt to keep her name in the news, because that's what people are doing now. They push the right button, and you get fame. That's what it is, man. It's like a pinball machine at an arcade, and you go in, and it's just got credits in it, and you just keep pushing start, and the light lights up and keeps playing. She's either making this shit up, which is gross, or she's really racist, which is also gross. Either way, it's gross. But okay, anyhow, another mindless, I don't even understand this. Supposedly, Pelosi is or was handing out citations to people in the government if they weren't wearing masks, and the whole time denying this. As you can see, another Bronco here. Our freedom is being held back by Fauci. Whatever. Okay, but Pelosi's been walking around without a mask. Newsweek, right there. Newsweek. It actually talks about it. Critics slammed her hypocrisy after she walked through crowd without mask. It's just how do people on the left not see? Fine, okay, Trump said stupid things, and he had mean tweets. I saw that. I understood that. There were a lot of times over that 4-year period where I was like, oh, why did he say that? But so come on, be honest. It's ridiculous. Speaking of a little bit ridiculous, apparently New York City, WNET, which is they put out some good shit, really. But they had a drag queen series for kids. First of all, the one thing that came up that I found interesting was there was a debate whether drag queens were offensive to women, sort of like blackface, and it's no, because it's not a race, and drag queens are drag queens. I really don't care. It was a dumb book, to be honest with you. Yes, it was 3 to 8 year olds, but it was a dumb book. And then having them say we've got future drag queens in here. I get it's an offhanded comment, but well, we got more to worry about than that. So, I don't know, whatever. In the world of the silliness that we're living in right now, that's probably at the bottom of the barrel, so I'm not going to care. But this is why earlier I said I don't like to argue online. In the 1980s, A&W tried to compete with the McDonald's Quarter Pounder by selling a third-pound burger at a lower cost. The product failed because most customers thought that the quarter-pound burger was bigger. This is why he doesn't argue. This is why I don't argue. Because if somebody doesn't understand the basic math, basic division, something like that, man, they're just going off sound bites. The one thing I hate about what I do is that I have to delve into the truth and the fiction of political stories, and I'd rather just ignore it all. I like this one. Before the 2024 election, there'll be, a black man committing a crime will be killed by a white cop. BLM will trend. And COVID or another widespread fear. Yeah, this is a tactic. I mean, people were saying when Trump was president, where really is BLM? They only come out every 4 years. And sure enough, fourth year they pop up and Antifa is brought along and, one sets them up, one ignites the bottles. That's what it is. People gather for a peaceful BLM rally. The radicals in that group are then siphoned off to Antifa, and they burn your fucking town down. Like I said, I'm just a sportscaster. I'm just calling the play that's on the field. The guy kicks the ball and it goes in the net. It's a goal. Until the referee or VAR tells me differently. There you go. Look at that. Biden jumping over the low bar. Trump's looking at the high bar. Showed Trump how it's done. Yeah, not really. You guys are failures. Then the government took away I can't do his voice. Then the government took away the good guys' guns. And all the murderers, gang members, and terrorists disappeared. 1 minute later, they all returned and realized, hey, nobody's got guns. There's Biden holding up a sign, don't blame me, I voted for Trump. Oh, man. Wow. I kind of wish they would just, I don't know, man. I'm so on the fence as to what I want all these recounts and audits to show, because nothing will change, I don't think. I think this is going to be like the Kentucky Derby where the winning horse failed the drug test, but so it was knocked down, but bettors didn't get their money. So I think it's a lose-lose situation. My biggest fear is that it could really, really incite. I mean, this is the kind of thing that future generations could read about in a textbook, that election results were fraudulent, and it launched a civil war. You could see it. It's a possibility. It could be the catalyst. World War I was started because a member of royalty, Franz Ferdinand, I believe, and his wife were killed. And all the countries were dragged into it because of alliances. As one came in, another one had to come in, and then lots of people died. Turn off the news and love your neighbor. Yeah. Not going to take it. That's off the new 21 Pilots album right there. They have one about, I think it's taken on the mainstream media. But they're dividing us because it's good for their meager ratings. It's good for the clicks. It's good for the political parties. And, man, if we don't do something collectively, we all need to own up to our mistakes and move forward with more of a centralist attitude. Not libertarian, look, I would keep it as pure as possible. A whole checklist of what we believe in. And then you take pieces and you add them up to answer new questions. You say, well, this, and this kind of equals this result. You know what I mean? If this, well, I do my head in trying to explain it. But we have all these issues that are gray, and they're dealt with in black and white, and it doesn't work that way. And this was my favorite one of the week. The big Batman slap, whenever Batman's in, pops up again in the electronic world out there. I love this one. Robin's getting slapped, saying, Biden will fix that, and Batman says, Biden couldn't fix a sandwich. And now this is more the 1960s. I can't do Adam West. I'd have to hear him again. God rest his soul. Adam. But this is what we're seeing. And it's an entire administration that is trying to kowtow, trying to rein in the extremists instead of just cutting them off. I mean, I guess if your dog always ran out the front door, the way I did it was she would run out every time. And one time I just closed the door. And she was out there all night, like 4 hours, something like that. And she's never done it since because she realized, hey, I'm going to close the door. And that's what we need to do is we need to find a way to close the door on these fringy, expensive projects that people are trying to bring up. These crazy freaking ideas. Instead of just sticking with what works and getting on footing, we're in the middle of a worldwide crisis. Worldwide crisis. And people are thinking about reparations and green energy. What? Crime is on the rise and they want to defund the police. But then on the other side, you got people who don't want to just understand the mindset of somebody who is binary. They want to make abortion the most important thing in the world. And they're just, one side says, we're going to give amnesty, and the other side says, we're going to ban abortion. Just boom, boom. And we're in the middle. Look, boom, boom. I'm getting hit both ways. And so are you. One side, it seems like they somewhat rein the idiots in. Somewhat. The other side just goes along with their game plan. And who knows what else? Applauding Facebook censoring free speech. How is that all of a sudden progressive? It's progressive to take away rights? It's like the past progressives. They got the LGBT plus community. They got them rights. They got them treated like humans. And now you're saying, no, we got to go further. We have to turn it all the way around. We have to go more and more and more until it's just crazy. And then the other side just keeps pushing back, playing right into their hands. Who cares what somebody identifies as? Who cares? It's but meaningless. Everybody has their issues. When you make it a political issue, you push people away. See where your support's coming from. It's the center. It's young women. It's young people. You better start reaching out, okay? Because they've got 16-year-olds mobilized on the Democratic side. They're the ones putting out all the posts. They're the people who are stirring the pot. Well, believe me, they're molding these people to be future voters. And you ain't doing shit. You're just hoping that people who grow up conservative stay conservative. And you hope that they're all Bible thumpers and want to buy into that way of thinking, which is not what the country needs. We need to have more compassion. We need to have more understanding. And we gotta, for God's sake, stop pushing people away, because we can't take 4 more years of this. We haven't even made barely 4 months. All right? Copious out.